Welcome to the Life Self-Mastery Podcast, where we bring in entrepreneurs who have created online businesses and improved their lifestyles. Here's your host, Rohit Malhotra.
Hi everyone, I'm Rohit from Life Self-Mastery, and today I'm excited to have Derek Waleko, who's a senior advisor to the South Korean government and who's now the co-founder of Up Sonder, which is a pioneering drone rental company. As a senior government advisor in charge of mergers and acquisitions at South Korea KOTRA agency, he worked with many high technology companies pushing the limits in the aerospace industry. Derek attended Texas Tech University, earning his Bachelor of Science degree in biology and chemistry, and studied film in New York at the New York Film Academy. Welcome to the show, Derek.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So, what got you interested into this crazy world of entrepreneurship, and what made you start Upsonder?
It was actually a number of things. I mean, I was a hobbyist before I turned my hobby into a career. I went from a very young age. It was fascinating just throwing things in the air and seeing where they would go. One of my first gliders, one of these large styrofoam gliders, and when I was a young kid, it was bigger than me. Was my first entrance into the world of aviation, and it kind of just kept going from there. But it always was just a hobby. Then as I got older in college, and you're doing model airplanes and getting into drones itself. My path has taken me into a lot of different areas, and I've traveled the world quite extensively. And I think when you kind of get these touch points and you kind of see other cultures and you see new points of view, and you just kind of get this hunger for, I think, a natural, entry into being an entrepreneur. And that's very much what happened to me. My background's investment banking, doing mergers and acquisitions, but that gave me a touch on working with many different clients in many different industries. And one that really just piqued my interest was aerospace. And there was that professional part of my career that kind of gave me the business understanding of that side of being an entrepreneur. But like what ignited me and actually started Up Sonder was a culmination of things with personal experience with my mother. She lived in a very remote part of Texas on our family ranch, and she has a debilitating disease. And one day when I was visiting, and she wasn't able to get access basically to her medication, and due to proximity to the pharmacy and the hour of the day it was, and it just wasn't possible. But I watched her suffer, and it kind of went down a rabbit hole with me, with kind of like self-thought, and that night specifically of, how can I help my mother? And that kind of shaped and started the whole culmination of, well, drones are the answer. And what else could drones be used for? And I knew at that time, the groundwork for, deploying medication through drones was not possible with, airspace regulations and just technology. But I knew it was possible, that it was coming, and it was something that was going to change the world. And it was just kind of a very deep understanding at that point, that I decided to build a company that was going to put those stones in place and grow as the industry grew, and take it to a whole different level. It's very much my firm belief that drones are going to be a very integral part of everyone's life, not just the businesses. Today it's very much business use cases, but in the future it's going to be literal consumers, everyday people that have helper drones, doing all the tasks that they need day in, day out. It's going to be as integral as the internet and as our cell phones are to us. Our helper drones are going to be right there by our side, docked in our car, docked in our rooftop. Just the use cases are just mind blowing. Anyways, that really got me fired up, and just thinking, when I strategize and I think about topics or whatnot, I tend to kind of go very far into the future, 100 years, 50 years, and really think about where and how the world is going to be impacted. But it was a mixture of an experience with my mother and an experience with, just what my career was doing and personally what I was doing, that kind of just put into one big melting pot, and it just out came the idea that I'm going to start my own company. And that was Up Sonder. And today here we sit, and now we're, growing and raising money, and we have huge, amazing goals for the future, and we're just getting started.
Interesting. So you worked in the M&A at a South Korean agency. So were you working working in South Korea, or were you just consulting them in some M&A work?
So I spent 2 years in South Korea, a magical country, and I mean, just magical. Anyone that wants to show in one lifetime where you can go from being the poorest country in the nation, all the way to being now a donor country to other poor nations in one lifetime is amazing. I had spent 2 years in the country. I lived north of Seoul. I actually lived right on the border of North Korea. My apartment had the most beautiful view of North Korea, the mountain ranges and the river. I mean, it was gorgeous. I lived in a city called Pajushi, and I was teaching English there at the time. But the ministry that ruled, it was a state-run program, and the ministry that ran that program is the same industry. Fast forward a couple years after I moved from Korea to Los Angeles. Was the same ministry that then handled my new agency that I worked for, that basically promoted and handled trade, imports, exports, foreign direct investment, mergers and acquisitions. And so that agency was under that ministry. It was kind of recommended, and from who I knew in Korea, that was another career path to go down and to continue on. And that was back in, getting that advice was back 2009, 2010. And so, but then that was, the agency basically has global offices worldwide, and 87 countries. It has about 127 offices worldwide. And so Los Angeles was my home base for the Korean government to be able to do that work.
All right, fascinating. So let's talk about the Upsonder. You talk it as it is the Airbnb of the drone industry. So I wanted to understand: is it only for companies who can use your services, or even individuals can enlist their drone services and use these drones for their own personal use?
It's open for the small guy and the very large conglomerate company, and we've had both type of clients. The path that we're setting on, the idea for Upsonder is to be a single network of access to anyone. That is our goal. Right now we're B2B. That's our kind of where we're trying to focus for our next iteration for Marketplace 1.0. We're building two marketplaces: Marketplace 1.0, Marketplace 2.0, and Marketplace 2.0 is where we're heading. I'm very excited about that. But for where we're at right now and the limits that apply to a startup, we're focusing on B2B, but it's very much our goal to get to a C2C type of business model, and we see a very clear path with autonomous drones to be able to do that. But today it is businesses in the world, whether they're a construction company, whether they're an oil and gas company, a real estate company, agriculture company that needs aerial footage, that needs some type of photo or video from the sky that's going to give them some type of valuable information about their business and about their work site and what they can do, because these businesses, are not always in one single location. I'll give you an example. We have right now 3 projects going on, one in Maryland, one in Texas, and one in Colorado. But the Maryland and Colorado missions are from a portfolio company, a management company in New York City, I'm sorry, not in Brooklyn, New York. And they have properties spread out throughout the United States. And so they need access to those points. And so they're able to come to one single location because we have pilots and over 795 cities across the United States that we have a very good idea about who can probably service those different locations. And so it's businesses that will have multiple sites, and we only serve the United States right now. We are going to be moving international, and that is a goal for us. But right now, we're only in the United States, and we're only available for U.S. companies. But it's those companies that have different sites around the United States, but they may be headquartered in one location that need to have service elsewhere. And so they can come to Upsonder and be able to hire a drone pilot, a qualified, skilled drone pilot for their industry to go out and acquire and fly that mission to get that data. So that's basically right now we're a B2B platform. But to your other point, yes, you can as an individual, if you just live in the United States, you own a home and say you want to put solar panels on your rooftop, or you just, there was a bad, rainstorm and you want to see if there was any damage to your roof, and you own the home and you want to hire a drone pilot to come out and do that flight for you, we can also help that single individual. It's just with the bandwidth that we have, we are a very small team. We are a team of 5, and we are, we have a very small bandwidth. So we have to choose where we focus our attention, and we're choosing to focus our attention as a startup for B2B model. So that's what we're focusing on right now. But the system, the platform upsonder.com is able to be accessed by anyone in the United States and to go ahead and hire directly a pilot of their choosing.
Got it. Yeah, you talked about Marketplace 1.0 and Marketplace 2.0. So, can you tell me what is the difference between both these marketplaces? Are these 2 different apps which people need to install and use it?
So yeah, there's quite a huge difference between the 2, and one complements the other. And Marketplace 1.0 is the child, essentially, of Marketplace 2.0. And so as the Marketplace 1.0 starts to mature, starts to grow, go through that awkward puberty stage, it's going to evolve into that beautiful butterfly, which is Marketplace 2.0. And that's what we're raising money for, to be able to help with that transition. But Marketplace 1.0, for your listeners, is a marketplace. Very similar to Airbnb. It is, drone pilots that are certified by the FAA. They carry a Part 107 license, and they have their drone registered with the FAA, can come onto the platform. We verify this, come onto the platform, and we give them a free account and a free web page. And it's essentially their storefront that allows them to then market their abilities as a drone pilot. They can show their demo reels, they can show past jobs, descriptions about their drone, descriptions about themselves. It's essentially a listing that then they can present to the world. And then the other side of the equation, there's always the supply and the demand side. And we've done a good job of building up the supply. So that's what we've been focusing on so far. Now we're getting ready to make that shift and transition into building the demand side. And that's what the rest of 2019 is going to be about for us, is the businesses that we described to be able to come onto the platform and to find that drone pilot within their direct area and hire them for a project that is local to that pilot and local to their job site. And so that essentially is what Marketplace 1.0. And the Marketplace 1.0 for the businesses that are coming online are coming on to be able to get that help. They have a couple options that to be able to service and deliver value to them. The first one is how I just described, is going straight to the drone pilot themselves through the website. And that's a direct connection to the pilot. Upsonder as a company, we won't interfere with that. We're just providing the technology and the platform to be able to have those communications. If the company themselves wants to, like we have an oil and gas client in Texas that prefers the second method that I'm going to describe, is that they want a white glove treatment. Essentially, they want our team to do the searching. They don't want to go onto the actual site and search the location, search the pilot, look through the different listings, find their proper pilot, talk with the pilot and do that. They much rather just talk to us as a company, tell us the scope of work for the actual mission, and then our team goes to work and finds the appropriate pilot for that mission, and then acts as the middleman for that. And we have two different types of clients: clients that want to go directly to the actual pilot themselves, or the pilot that wants the white glove treatment. And we're happy to have it both ways. The third way that companies can use Upsonder that we're getting ready to push is we developed an API. And these are for larger enterprise clients. So our goal is to take the software that we developed to be able to have access to our database and to be able to give to an enterprise client that has maybe multiple missions in a single week, or multiple missions week to week or month to month. And they basically need to have a quicker kind of interface and quicker turnaround time. That doesn't include direct contact with the pilot, messing around, searching listing by listing, or even using our white glove treatment and talking with us. It's just an automated process that they would upload and use our API, and that they could have then a wealth of pilots that could basically bid on a project, and they can pick them as those bids come in. So those are basically the three methods for 1.0, Marketplace 1.0 as it exists today. Now for Marketplace 2.0, where we're headed is that we are starting to shift and think about the coming, we're about to have our presidential elections coming up, we get started so early, it's years away, but it's coming up that we're starting to see how the conversation is shifting about automation and about how that's a job killer, and what that means for our society and people that may lose their job through automation. We are thinking about that very seriously, and Marketplace 2.0 is to address that issue and to build a system that incorporates autonomous drones into the service. Now that sounds scary. That sounds as if we're going to lose drone pilots to autonomous drones, but we don't believe that is the case. The demand for drone services is growing so significantly worldwide that we believe that autonomous drones are needed to keep up with that demand. And so we believe that setting a system in place to support an autonomous drone service network is complementary to our drone pilots and beneficial to our drone pilots, because we need to be able to move into the next phase of where the world is headed. And the way we're tackling this is we're thinking about the drones experience. So right now we're a very pilot focused company. We had two choices. We could have went after the clients first. We could have went after the drone pilots first. We decided, I guess me being a drone pilot, decided to go after the drone pilots first. And really, we understand that they are our backbone. And one of the greatest things about Republic and where we're raising money is we now have an opportunity to share the company with our member base. We're the only drone service company in the entire United States that is doing this and offering this value added to the drone pilots that exist on our platform. It gives them direct investment and opportunity to be able to grow with us, and they have a vested interest to be able to support Upsonder in a new, powerful way. But back to the Marketplace 2.0, we're focusing on the drones experience, and that is for flight time and how the path of the drone and the precision of the drone behaves for automated flight and for automated services. And that's where we have the idea, and what we're building is we're developing a technology for precision navigation, centimeter precision navigation for autonomous drones. But we're interconnecting rooftops with charging stations. One of the dirty little secrets that our industry does not talk about, you don't hear much about, because everyone is kind of blinded by the beautiful content that drones put out, beautiful 4K video and HD, stunning images. people forget that these drones fly for about 30 minutes.
Right.
That's it. And then when you start adding payloads, you're talking about like something is little as 2.5 pounds. You're talking about a 33% reduction in energy life for a drone. And then you start increasing the rate, and it just gets worse from there. So when you start thinking about how is this drone revolution supposed to serve the masses when energy is a huge concern, that's the problem we're solving. And that's the problem that's what Marketplace 2.0 is. It's the interconnection of rooftops to allow drones to hopscotch from one location to the next to be able to service more clients. You know, there is going to be a point in the future where millions of drones, and without any exaggeration, I mean, millions of drones in the sky. There's going to be a term that's going to be coming up in the future, drone clutter. You know, there's going to be just skies filled with drones, you know, delivering packages and doing services and whatnot. And we feel that we're able to help a problem that doesn't exist yet, but will exist by being able to provide infrastructure for autonomous drones, our drones, and even third-party drones. That's part of our business model. You know, I'll go over that in a little bit. To be able to reduce the amount of drones that are in the sky. If you can empower a drone, an autonomous drone, to be able to do more with less drones, that's a value added for the industry and for society, because it's just less drones in the sky. But we want to be able to have a network that directly supports wireless charging for autonomous drones and gets a drone from point A to point B to C to D to E and back to point A again, covering a lot of ground through a supported charging network. But that's the difference between 1 and 2 is that 1 is very much human driven, 2 is very much autonomous drone driven, and they're going to meet in the middle, and it's going to be both our human pilots and our autonomous drones and third-party autonomous drones performing missions and delivering services to the masses.
Interesting. So, but you're focusing more on the Marketplace 1.0 for now.
Yes, we are focusing mostly on the sales and marketing aspect of Marketplace 1.0 to now shift focus from the supply side over to the demand side. So that's where we are going to be building, because the idea is to generate. We're not revenue positive. Where the idea is to generate revenue to be able to fund and support Marketplace 2.0.
Okay, and can you talk a little bit about your drone partners and how much time does it take for your company to get these drone partners, empaneled onto your website?
So the user experience and we're actually about to shift the website. We're currently we're going to be developing the website a little bit, shifting the user experience. It's been so heavily focused on the drone pilot. When you come on, if you're a drone pilot, you'll appreciate upsonder.com. If you're a client, I think you'll appreciate it less. But we're shifting now because we're going to be focusing on the client to make it more client friendly. But the sign up process is very quick and simple. It's a 9-step process, and we're always working on streamlining it. But essentially, you can get set up with your own account with your own listing in as little as 5 minutes. It's not a hard process. A lot of things are preloaded and automated, so that it's a very simple process for the drone pilot to come create. We also, from time of booking from the client standpoint, if we have we could get a job done pending. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it: flight planning, making sure that you get proper, clearance for airspace. We can probably do a job within a 48-hour turnaround, and of course, our goal is to get it down to 24 hours. But best case scenario, I think we're comfortable with 48-hour turnaround between the time that a client orders something to the time that the drone is up in the sky and then delivered. We believe we can do that in about 24 hours, and easily within a week for sure.
Okay. Got it. And can I also talk about how much of the current revenue is recurring, and what is the average use per user when they're using your drone services?
So, our average spend per client is about $650.
Okay.
We don't have much data on, we very much are still getting it. I think we've done a little over 50 missions
Okay.
so far. And so we have we have a couple oil and gas clients that are reoccurring clients, but even still that data is not very clear for us yet.
Okay.
And so that's what we're working on to get more data to be able to have answers to those questions. Just right now, things are so fresh and new that we just don't have enough data to be able to do recurring revenue numbers just yet.
Okay. And do you have other competitors in the same industry trying to solve the same problem?
Of course, yeah, we do. I don't. We are in a kind of a different league though, in that where we're headed. Building the infrastructure to support autonomous drones is unique to Upsonder. Our marketplace 2.0 is a very unique position in how we're taking the company and where we're shifting the direction of the company toward this marketplace 2.0 future. And we don't know of a company out there that has a similar stance. There are drone services companies that you can go and get drones. Some don't have as much a large footprint as us. Some have a larger footprint than us. But the areas that we excel in is that we've never had a sourcing issue. We pay our pilots well. We treat our pilots better than anyone in the industry. The model around how we get paid is that we take a 15% cut on the transaction, and we let the pilot choose their own rates. And so whatever a pilot is going to be setting their rate for, one, they have a lot of control over that. Our competitors don't give that kind of control or as much control as we do. And we also have a 95% payout. So the way it works is during a transaction, we will take 5% from the drone pilot of whatever rate that they ask for. And then we will pay out 95% to them. And then we mark up that transaction sell with the client 10%. And so we'll take 10% from the actual client. And then we have a 15% margin that we end up taking for that transaction. And we're actually considering, there may be some, I may be speaking a little too soon, but we've had some conversations with my team that we may shift that model to more client dependent on the margins, and actually just give the pilot 100% of that transaction. Those are conversations that we're having, but we really feel the backbone of Upsonder is our pilots, and we want to appreciate them as much as possible.
Got it. And what are you doing to get more drone pilots on board, and to get more number of companies empaneled with you? Are you working on paid ads, or is it hiring more business development executives who can get more of these corporates on board? I just wanted to understand how you're trying to grow your user base of both the supply and demand.
Sure. So we've done a really good job of guerrilla marketing and kind of going to the forums for drone pilots and discussing what we're trying to do and tell them what Upsonder is about. And so our supply side, we've done a good job of building that up. Like I said, we're in over 795 cities nationwide. We have new drone pilots signing up every day with us, essentially. And when before we just started recording, I asked you if you heard that little vibration or whatnot. That was a notification that we just had a new drone pilot with while you and I were talking, signing up with the platform. Okay. And so the supply side, we feel very confident, and it's organically growing by itself and coming into its own. And we now are shifting the focus over to the demand side. And we are bringing on we're currently interviewing a new sales and marketing position that we're going to be bringing on this month. And we're looking at candidates, and so we should be announcing that fairly shortly, within the next 3 weeks. And we're going to be focusing that sales and marketing person towards the architecture, engineering, and construction industry. And we're going to be focusing on the oil and gas and real estate, and then also pushing our API. So we're narrowing our focus. There's a lot of different areas that we could go into, and one of the problems I think that I see on a daily basis is just where we could go. It's almost overwhelming, all the different doors we could open, but it's a death sentence. Because we would just be in too many places at too many times, and we would never excel in one area. So as we now shift to the demand side of things, we've told ourselves, what we have to become experts in just one area. And so we're going to do that and really narrow the focus down to the oil and gas and the ACE industry, and basically just focusing to grow the demand side through a new sales and marketing effort. We're getting very poignant on how we're reaching out to people and how we're going to be approaching the situation and really solving their issues. So we're putting together case studies. We're putting together, hiring this new person to come on. It's not so much an executive role, but it is just a new focus that we haven't done before. Because we've been so focused on the supply side, but now the entire company is shifting to the demand side, and we're readapting the website so that it is client friendly, and just taking that approach to really hammer down on the demand side now. Basically, duplicate what we did for supply, but now for demand, and so that's what we're shifting our focus to now.
Got it. Yeah, it makes sense to focus on oil and gas because that is what I was thinking, that that there's a lot of scope there, and they would, in fact, earlier you would have helicopters which would take aerial photo shoots, but now drones would be very useful to take such aerial shots, and much cheaper also, cheaper and faster also. So
yeah, that's a completely true statement. We had. So some of the case studies that we just put together were for the oil and gas industry, and these missions. Again, we've been focusing on the supply side, but along the way, some people have reached out to us organically, and we were able to service these clients, and we were very humbled by it. But some of the interesting use cases was using thermal imaging to see through storage tanks. When we started thinking about, what we could be doing for the oil and gas industry when the jobs came along, was that that was not one of them. But it was interesting that, the client came in and was like, can you do this? And we're interested. And we want to know how much oil is in these tanks. And we want to be able to, take an aggregate, count for that. And we said, we don't know. Let's find out. Let's do it. And so we talked to our pilots in the area. This was in Cushing, Oklahoma. And we were able to put that together, and we did exactly that. We flew, I believe it was like 9 square mile track, and we got that footage done in a single day, and we got those thermal imagings over with all the levels, and it was truly amazing to be able to see that data come through. And we delivered that to the client, and they were extremely happy with it. And they're a client that has used us at least 5-6 different times. And so we've made a friend out of them, the oil and gas company in Houston, Texas. But that was a very interesting use case. And then we've had other use cases. There was a pipeline explosion in Southern California. And we were the first drone, first and only, actually. I mean, we were the only drone company that was out there taking weekly update shots of the progress of the repair of that pipeline. And not only that, to make it even more troubling, not only was it extremely remote, it was also in a tortoise protected environment, a heritage environment. So we actually had to, talk about going above and beyond for the client. We had to hire a biologist to physically take our drone pilot and drive them and walk them to the site. I mean, this was a completely whole ordeal. And that was every single time we had to go out there week to week. We had to hire a new not marine biologist. I'm sorry. My wife is a high school science teacher, and she's doing a marine biology course. We had to hire a biologist to be able to go and take our pilot out to this location to be able to do these shoots. And so there's a lot of challenges, but each time we're finding that we're able to find solutions. And a lot of times the client may know nothing about this, but we are able to still deliver that high value content to them. And so this is really exciting for us. It not only gets our, creative juices flowing, but it shapes us as a company and figures, how can we then, use what we learned and apply it to the future. And so, one of the things that we're dealing with right now is that we have, the Maryland job that I talked about earlier is in restricted airspace. Because it's close, it's close to the Reagan Airport there, and so it's a no-fly zone. So we have to now apply for an FAA waiver to be able to access that airspace. And so we're going through that process and learning a ton about that. But at the end of the day, it's all for the client and all for the pilots. Getting them jobs and doing this. But it's a very fulfilling moment when you hand that job over to that pilot, because here's the thing that really excites me and it amazes me when you think of a company like Uber. Nothing against Uber drivers or whatnot, but I'm certain it is not their passion. I'm certain they're not saying I want to be an Uber driver or that's my goal, that's my goal and passion in life. Our drone pilots, flying their drone is very much their passion. If they can earn a full-time living flying their drone, I'm talking about life-changing experience for them, because this is exactly what they want to do. And that type of user base that are our pilots is gold. And so to be able to take that passion and run with it is something that we're figuring out and that we're excited to figure out and that we're excited to use and go forward with, because having a company of passionate drone pilots, a passionate employee, it's mind blowing and very exciting. So I think I went off on a little bit of a tangent there, but those are some of the use cases that we've had for oil and gas industry.
Interesting. Right. So Derek, you using Republic, which is a crowdfunding platform to raise funds. So I wanted to understand why not go through the route of, raising funds from angels or other VCs to get to your product market founder fit?
Sure. That's a great question, and It blew my mind, actually. I'm not sure. I know you're in India, and I don't know the rules around investing in India, but the rules in the U.S. up until 2016, mid 2016, were horrible, and they're getting better, but they're not where they need to be yet. But the SEC was very comfortable letting Americans go to Las Vegas and gamble their hard-earned money away, and people go into debt or sell their home, whatever, and this horrible kind of cycle, and that's completely legal, and you can do that. That's within your right as an American. But it wasn't in your right to be able to invest in a startup. You couldn't take your money and invest in an opportunity that could potentially, return and change your life, but you could go to Vegas and gamble it all away. That just blew me away when I learned that. It was completely crazy. And the law changes to allow non-accredited investors, non-millionaires, non-billionaires, to be able to have access to startups like Upsonder, and to have Republic be one of the gold standards out there. It was kind of a no-brainer for us. It felt socially responsible. It felt that because Republic is out of Angel List, they came from a very credible place. I wasn't entirely I myself only learned about Title III and the fundraising around non-accredited investors. That was new to me. And so when the platform started coming on scene and taking advantage and really utilizing these new rules and regulations, I wasn't really sure where to turn to either. And I wasn't even actually thinking about it. It was Republic that reached out to us to be able to raise their money on their platform. And so at first, when I got that email and we started having conversations, I almost thought it was a scam. I was like, what are you talking about? So I had to self-educate and I had to learn about it. But after doing my research, I really saw that they are the true gold standard. I mean, you talk to any, or read the blog of any accredited and very well-known investor, and Republic comes out of their mouth. So after learning that and doing my homework, it was a no-brainer to be a part of the Republic team. And I'm very honored that Upsonder is part of the Republic, platform. But yeah, it was just knowing that they had the credibility and they had the most. It's a very simple process, and being able to invest on it is simple as a couple of clicks, and then you're an investor. It's crazy how amazingly easy they made it. But it was a no-brainer for me.
Right. Yeah. No. In fact, in 2010, if you had an Uber driver who could see the potential, and if he could invest into Uber, that person could have made life-changing money. And the same goes for a drone pilot on Upsonder, who understands the marketplace and knows what kind of potential this can have in the next coming years.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. 100% agree.
Got it. So, I want to talk about, how much money are you raising, and what is the money to be used for now?
Sure. So right now we're, we are over $120,000 that we've raised. Our campaign ends July 31st, I believe. Okay. We have over 400 investors currently. The money is mainly going to be used for sales and marketing. So the vast majority of it will go to sales and marketing to build out the demand side of Marketplace 1.0. And then 20% of it is going to go into research and development for Marketplace 2.0. That's going to be going into making a minimal reference drone that will demonstrate our technology, our precision navigation, to be able to hopscotch from rooftop to rooftop. And so that 20% of that is going to be able to do proof of concept for that Marketplace 2.0 and build out that new portion of Upsonder, which we're incredibly excited about. But the majority of it is going to be from sales and marketing.
Got it. And who else is in your team? Who else is part of the founding team other than you?
Sure. So my business partner and the other co-owner of Upsonder is Isaac Neighbors, and he is a entrepreneur himself. He's a physical therapist. He and I went to college together, and he's a man of God, and he is a very stand-up individual. I love him to death. I rely on his business acumen, and I rely on his moral compass. He's a dear friend, and when I first thought of Upsonder and I said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to build it, I called him up and I said, hey, this is my idea. Do you want to do it with me? And he was like, I'm in. And so he's been by my side the entire time, and he helps with daily operations. My lead CTO, my head engineer, is Sung, and he's an aerospace engineer. I mean, he's got an amazing background. It's hard to be in the same room with him because I just feel so dumb every time I'm around this guy. But he's done worked on past projects with NASA, with U.S. Air Force, Boeing, and the list goes on. He's a very smart individual. I think technically he may punch me for saying this. I think technically he's a rocket scientist, but he works on the hardware side of things, on building aerospace design instruments, and he's our CTO and heads that part of our company. And Tom, he works on the software. He's also an aerospace engineer, very smart individual. He's building out the software for the algorithm that calculates the positioning for the drone, the RTK GPS that is behind the technology for precision navigation. Very smart individual, comes from UCLA, Caltech. And we have Joe, which is our content guy. He provides us. He has a rich history with China, and he has a very keen understanding for research. And he basically handles our social media. He writes our emails. He really kind of keeps the focus on the messaging for us. So we're a team of 5. And we're a very small company, but we have a big vision, and everyone's on board, and we're tremendously excited about it.
Correct. Yeah. So I want to quickly do the top three, which I ask the top three questions, and you can reply back in a sentence or two. What is your favorite business book?
Never Split the Difference. I love it. I believe it's by Chris Voss.
Yes.
And it's a negotiate. Have you read it?
I've read it. Great book.
It's a wonderful book. Yeah, it's one of my favorite books. One of my favorite reads, and I kind of give it as gift sometimes because it's just such a fascinating book. And even if you had nothing to do or know about negotiations, the read itself is tremendously fascinating. You could enjoy that book without having any interest in negotiations.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the books you can reread again, a couple of times in a year. If you could go back in time when you started working on Upsonder, what is the one thing you would have focused on?
One thing I would have focused on, going back to the very beginning. Oh, we had a horrible experience with insurance. Back in 2015, 2016, the industry around insurance for drones was non-existent. I mean, today, anyone that's in the drone industry will know these names very well. Skywatch and Verifly, which are two amazing companies. We're actually working with Skywatch to provide insurance for our pilots and to do some other things we're co-developing that I can't speak on right now, but it's part of our API, and we're very excited about that. But insurance is very easily accessible now for missions. Back then it was not, and we spent a ton of money going through I must have been turned down by, I don't know, maybe 20 insurance companies or to find insurance for these missions and what we had planned and whatnot. It was a horrible experience. And now but that was because these business models just did not exist. Not exist, and insurance companies had no idea how to insure those companies, how to insure it or whatnot. So I think going back, I really would have took a different track with the insurance, and like I was focusing I was so risk adverse in the very, very beginning, and I was just like, this all has to be perfect, and it has to be. I would have taken the approach of break it and then remake it and keep breaking it and remaking it kind of thing, as opposed to trying to plan everything out 20 steps ahead before taking that first step. So I definitely would have just kind of like shot down the road and developed, and not worried so much in being so risk averse. But at the very beginning I was. And so that would be advice I'd give myself starting off again. It's just do it.
Got it. And do you have any favorite online tools, example, Gmail, Slack, Trello?
Any online quotes?
Online tool.
Online tool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's this Chrome extension. It's called Purpose. I believe it's called Purpose. Purpose. I believe it's called Purpose or Purposeful. It essentially is every time you open a new tab on your computer, it only works for Google Chrome and non Safari, non Mac. Even though I'm a Mac guy, it opens up your to-do list. It opens up your daily habits, and it opens up. It's just a very simple, easy to use program. But I love that Google Chrome extension. Probably the hands down the best piece of little. If there was like a little thing that someone want to know, how do you have that? How do you stay so organized, or how do you do it? I would say the Purposeful app would be the Chrome extension would be that. It's there all the time. It travels anywhere I go, and it's just like a quick view of my day, and it's really nice.
Got it. We'll put that in the show notes. So, Derek, what is the best way people can reach out to you and know more about Upsonder and about the Republic campaign that you're doing?
I think the best way to, as right now, since we're in the middle of fundraising and we're working through Republic, and there's rules and regulations with the SEC, the best way to get a hold of me is through the actual campaign website, and that site has everything about our company. It has what we've done, what we're doing now, and where we're headed. and it's a very easy portal to be able to sign up through and to have direct access to me and my team. So I would recommend that people go to republic.co/Upsonder, and they're going to have direct access to me. And if any of your listeners are in the United States and they need drone services, they can go to upsonder.com to be able to hire a drone pilot. And we would encourage that and welcome that.
Got it. Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes. Derek, thank you very much for coming onto the show and speaking to us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for investing in our company too. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Life Self-Mastery podcast, where we teach you how to start and grow your online business. For more information, visit Rohit's blog at www.lifeselfmastery.com.